How much do you know about Seth from the Bible? If you're anything like me, the answer to that question is not enough. Let's fix that right now. Seth is not as widely talked about as Cain and Abel, yet his role in the Bible is one of quiet but lasting importance. He was born after the death of Abel, and his mother, Eve, saw his arrival as a gift from God, a way of continuing the righteous line that had been broken. His name means appointed or granted, showing that his life was seen as part of God's plan from the very beginning. While Cain's life became marked by conflict and wandering, Seth's life moved in a very different direction. It was during his lifetime that people began to publicly call on the name of the Lord. This marked a shift in the early generation of humanity, a movement towards organized worship and a renewed dedication to God. Seth's life and influence seems to have encouraged a community that sought to walk closely with the Creator, standing apart from the growing moral corruption of the world. Through Seth's children and grandchildren, a pattern of faithfulness was carried forward. His son Enoch continued the tradition of worship, and the generations that followed produced men like Enoch, who walked in close fellowship with God, and Noah, who remained upright, even when the world around him was full of violence and selfishness. These descendants show that Seth's influence was not only personal, but generational, shaping the spiritual direction of humanity's early history. Seth lived a remarkably long life, spanning over 9 centuries, which allowed him to see his family grow and his influence spread. More importantly, his place in history extends far beyond his own lifetime. Many generations later, his family line would lead to the birth of Jesus Christ, the fulfillment of God's plan to bring salvation to the world. What makes Seth's story so meaningful is that he is remembered not for dramatic acts of great achievements in the eyes of the world, but for faithfully living in a way that honored God. He represents the truth that God's work is often carried forward by people who live consistently, teaching their children well, and remain devoted in their everyday lives. After the grief and loss of Abel, and the brokenness caused by Cain's actions, Seth's birth was a sign of hope. His life was a quiet testimony that God's purposes cannot be stopped, and that even in times of tragedy, he can raise up people to carry his truth forward. Seth's example reminds us that faithfulness, even without recognition, can have an eternal impact. And that's why I think it's important to ask the question,